All right, Peter Daring, you are on Driven to Ride. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Pumped to be here. Great to see you, Mark.
I'm excited as well. I'm a big fan of your work, I guess we could say, but I don't want to steal your thunder. So why don't we start by you telling me in your own words what people maybe most know you for, or what you think your claim to fame is?
Oh, man. That's actually, it's a doozy from the start, because what I think I'm known for might not be the case. Look, Peak Design is a company that was born about 14 years ago when I put the first ever Kickstarter out. And I had quit my job as a construction engineer and invented a gizmo, very much a gizmo for the world of photography. It was this mechanism, two metal plates that clamp on to a backpack strap and allow you to carry a camera on that backpack strap. And do it rigidly hands-free, so you can be, hiking with hiking poles or backcountry skiing or whatever. You've got a camera that's not stuffed all the way in your backpack. It's out front, immediately accessible where you might use it. And I launched that product on May 2nd, 2011. And it 5 days in, actually 3 days in, it had already raised over $80,000, and I had on my hands a profitable company because it was just me, and I was making this thing for $13.54, and I was selling it for $50, and I had recouped my whole investment. It did take me 15 months to go from quitting my old job to that point in time. But keep in mind, I had no industrial design experience, no mechanical engineering experience. I studied civil engineering in college, but I had never used 3D modeling software before. I'd never manufactured a product before. So it was a lot of like feeling around in the dark until I kind of stumbled across something that worked. But boy, howdy, did it work.
Yeah, seriously. And now let's see. So 2011, we're at 15, almost 15 years later.
15 years later, I'm basically doing the same thing where I got a few more people helping me now. 80 full-timers here in the States and in Europe, but also 60 full-timers in the Philippines that are doing customer service and back-of-the-house kind of operations. And, of course, manufacturing partners all across the world. And that number sort of in the thousands. Not facilities we own, but the ones that we work with. But I'm still up here on slanging product on Kickstarter. We just launched what I'm very proud to say is our biggest Kickstarter in the history of our company. We launched the Roller Pro, which is our first time taking a crack at four-wheeled roller luggage, roller luggage of any kind. We did come out with the travel line in 2018, and those products have literally been selling for 7 years now. And when the travel line was conceived, we simultaneously conceived the early kind of DNA for what the roller would be. But we have not gotten around to releasing it until a full 8 years later. And part of that's because at the time we were able to make backpacks and confident in our kind of sewn and soft goods ability. But we wanted to do something really special with rollers. And frankly, it needed more engineering resource than we had available. Really, we had to kind of develop that over time. And once we finally did, late 2020 is when the roller team in much of its constituent parts now exists. It took 4 years to make this thing. And that's not just because they're lazy. In fact, it's not at all because they're lazy. It's because we're actually trying to do things very differently. And genuine innovation is challenging, especially when it comes to manufacturing, because you knock on the door of every roller factory that's out there and you say, hey, these are new ideas. And some don't want to pursue it at all. Some will, but will only commit so many resources. And it's the difference between inventing stuff and kind of more like ordering stuff, putting a brand on it, putting a logo on it, and saying we thought of this or that. But honestly, if your original question is like, what are we known for? And if nothing else, I think that's what we're known for, is giving like a really solid rethink to products that are out there in the world. And I'd like to think that we focus on real problems And what I mean by that is that we're not trying to kind of cram a problem down the throats of our customers. We
Sure.
try to focus on and also do things commensurately, right? If you try to suggest that a problem is bigger than it is, and you apply more resource, you end up with something that's kind of gimmicky. And so I don't know. I think that we try to really be real and authentic and genuine problem solvers and solve problems that we ourselves as users of the products encounter.
That's very motorcycle of you is the first thought I have, because it's like, you talked about the camera clip and it's like, I'm just going to like tinker around with this and see how it works and see what I can and do with this. I don't have any experience with it. I'm just going to figure it out. And, you've been able to turn that into a wildly successful business. But, the other thing too is, the whole reason you're here is you're a motorcyclist as well. And it seems like your passion for motorcycles and your entrepreneurship have combined forces lately as well. Before we get to that, I do want to ask, how'd you even get into motorcycling in the first place? How long have you been a rider for?
That's a great question. Okay, I'll pin it to two formative things. One, my old man rode a motorcycle, and so there was always one hanging around. He was a firefighter, and always had BMW motorcycles. And my dad, he always kind of did things a little bit differently. Like, he wouldn't have been a Harley guy. He was like, he was a kind of a loner dude, kind of a go at your own sort of way. And so, like, I'm not surprised that he found his way to BMW motorcycles. He went in the Navy, got out of the Navy, came back. His brother was a firefighter in Minneapolis. Got a little bit of scratch together, and one of the first things he did was get himself a set of two wheels. And so that's one of the most formative things. The other thing then is, he never taught me to ride, but in college, my buddy Dave, who is 3 years older than me, I looked up to Dave. There's an age difference there. That's a significant age gap in college. And he was only guy I knew who, what he was doing after college is he was just going to go buy a one-way ticket to New Zealand and go fuck around.
Yeah.
And it was, I was just like, hey, I like that. We also bartended at the same place, and he had a motorcycle. And so he taught me how to ride a motorcycle. It would be a few years later, I guess 6 years later, that Dave would come on board to Peak Design and become employee number 3, I think, and is still our CFO today. And so I learned to ride a motorcycle from my CFO.
That's wild. Yeah. And that's coming a long way from slinging drinks in Madison, man.
Totally. Although, as far as like life highlights go, I don't know. It's as good as things have been for me. Does it get better than being a bartender during college? I'm not sure that it does.
It's one of my few regrets of like not having a job in college was I wish I would have been a bartender. I mean, I spent enough time at a bar that I probably could have qualified as a bartender, but I wasn't. I was spending money, not making money. So
that's good. I actually think that's a really cool thing about life is that, like, I could not be more professionally fulfilled. I'm literally have my dream job, and it keeps getting better. But I don't know. It tops out at a certain point. And when I was a bartender in Madison, I felt so much freedom. I felt so much joy. I was playing, pickup baseball and softball, and I was taking care of properties. Like, that was as good as life can get. I think it's as good as life can get right now for me as well. Yeah. I've had plenty of ups and downs along the way, but I think that's kind of a magical thing about life is that you don't need material success or wealth or, like, all things are relative. I guess I thought I was making pretty good coin as a bartender.
Sure. Yeah.
But just enough to afford to, get as many hot dogs I wanted when I went to the Mallards game. That was
enough to get by and not a lot of worries, man. So
totally. And as we know, motorcycles can be found. I mean, Dave was riding a 250 Nighthawk, and there's always one that's kind of kicking around. If you're motivated, you can get yourself into two-wheel transportation. And then once you do, and you fire that puppy up, if it's got, clean carburetor or some other way of getting you around, you unlock the most fun that a human being can have, and it can be done for pretty damn cheap.
Agreed. It sounds like you were basically kind of hooked from the start as soon as you threw a leg over a motorcycle, really.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And then so after I graduated from school, moved out to San Francisco, California. I did that because I was fortunate enough to study abroad in Rome.
Okay. Oh, wow.
When I was in college, and I'd never been out of the country. Not like I didn't come from a family that travels or anything like that. And I was just blown away by Rome, Italy. And I also I remember growing up and feeling bad for people who lived in other countries because they didn't get to live in America. America. I grew up in the Reagan years of America, and it was always just promise and exceptionalism. Exactly. It's as good as you get. And I went to Rome, Italy, and it was just oh, this is that these people know how to live, man.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for 5,000 years.
Exactly. And just yeah.
Tell me though, did you get a Vespa or ride a Vespa at least once when you were over there?
Oh yeah. Yep.
You were really living the life.
I was living the life. Yep. I had a borrowed Vespa. So that became a big motorcycle experience for me. And then as soon as I moved out to San Francisco afterward, had this construction engineering job. And the first bonus that I got, which was just a few months after I started, I got the annual bonus cycle and got myself a Nighthawk 750.
Oh, there you go.
And I was riding it across the bridge every day because my construction project was at UC Berkeley. I was rehabbing an old library, making it earthquake safe and doing a bunch of improvements. And so I got to ride across the Bay Bridge. And there's this incredible thing about California where you want to talk about progressive? Here's a progressive law. Sure, you can split lanes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Lane splitting is it is a magic carpet. It is the key to my punctuality. It's just the dependence that I have on I can always go faster than cars, and I can have a predictable amount of time. And it's also, it's as fun as downhill skiing.
Okay, I believe it. Because, everybody else around you is stopped dead in their tracks or moving at 5 miles an hour at best. And, you always hear that joke about California. Well, it takes an hour and a half to go 5 miles. Not on a motorcycle.
Not on a motorcycle. You can get anywhere, man. Yeah, the freeways are actually great if they, if they've got, if you could drive between the cars. And just the beauty of coming across the Bay Bridge, for anyone who's ever had this experience, coming over the top deck and entering the city. I specifically remember my first time entering San Francisco was in college. I was interviewing and came in on a double-decker bus from the Amtrak station. And you round, there's a big camber on the Bay Bridge, especially on the western span. And so it's kind of like you're approaching on a downhill. And I had no idea that San Francisco had such a skyline. When I was coming in, I was just whoa, look at this city. And it's a
living, breathing, massive city. Yeah.
Stunning. And you're looking west and how many good sunsets did I get to see coming across that bridge as a youngster. And so the other thing that I got with my early bonus money was an SLR camera. And I had a Nikon D80 and a few lenses, and I used to ride with my camera slung across my chest every day. And so I was just I always had a camera on me. And it was always a pain in the ass because it's the strap is uncomfortable. When it is slung, you can't even wrestle it around. There's too much friction on it. Whomever designed the camera strap, basically just said, here, Pete, here's a business idea for you. Make this.
Here's a giant problem for you to solve. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason, no one else is solving it. And it's just waiting there for you. So these were very much the formative motivations, and you put that. And I also say I would put I've always look. I understand this is a motorcycling show, and it's also probably a bit of a dangerous thing, but I've been riding with music for most of my motorcycling life, and
sure, yeah,
it is just so joyful to experience music ripping through the lanes. I mean, certainly there are going to be people on this podcast who know what I'm talking about. Just
soundtrack to your life, man.
The soundtrack to your life, and it's moving by, and you're feeling the air, and it's just a little bit dangerous, and it's just like, oh my God, it's as good as it gets.
Yeah, yeah. I remember. So when I first started riding, my dad has been a motorcycle rider forever, and I remember he showed me how he used to have a Walkman with like little earbuds or whatever that he would put in his helmet, and he'd tape some Velcro onto the gas tank and then put a cassette tape there. And then he's like, yeah, going down the highway and having to switch the cassette tape around, turn the tape over and all that. It's a thing. So I eventually adopted that, but with an iPod back in the day, which is arguably either more or less dangerous depending on how picky you are with music. But I mean, now everybody's got Bluetooth speakers and they go right into the helmet, or you can get away with AirPods, I guess, if you wanted to on a motorcycle. I mean, we're pretty spoiled nowadays compared to back in the day. I'll say that.
Yeah, and now you could put your rectangular supercomputer on your handlebars, and thanks to Peak Design, be charging it at 15 watts as you're going down the road, seeing that percentage of battery tick up even when you're running crazy ass maps and Chat GPT in the background. And have Spotify play you just the most kick-ass soundtrack ever. So it's never been a better time to split lanes, Mark.
I could not have transitioned over to that better. So I appreciate you with the assist there, sir. Yeah, you have a Peak Design motorcycle mount. Well, a brand new one. I'd say it's probably a V2 now with a charger and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Where did the idea for the phone mount for the motorcycle come from, and how did you get to where it is now?
Sure. Well, I'd say that I was a quad lock user early days, like 2012, 2013, and I always had a gripe with it, though, with the thickness of the case. They've improved it a lot since then, but it used to be about 7.5 millimeters, the bump off the back. And I'm very spatially minded, and so that never sat well with me. But it was a very good product in so many ways. It was also finicky to kind of get on. So let's say quad lock usage, very important to this sort of story. But then the cameras just started getting better and better and better. And it was 2016 when I got my first iPhone X 10. They skipped the 9 and just went right to the X. I guess you can do that if you go Roman numeral. Anyway, that was when they brought out portrait mode. And portrait mode was the first time that mimicked, of course, putting the bokeh in the back. And I was like, okay, now these guys this is business. And it felt like an imperative at that point to start making what is the most important accessory for the most important camera. And that is the phone case. And this is the most important camera. It would be very difficult to argue that it's not. And
totally
we're a
agree.
camera accessory company.
Yeah, it's the what is it? The most important camera is the one that you have right in front of you. Yeah, absolutely.
And this thing kind of destroyed. Like I said, I used to roll around with an SLR all the time. Like I'd have it on my belt right now. If this was 2013.
Right.
But these things came in and they put it in your pocket, and so it became kind of an imperative to make the most important case. And I'm a cyclist. I'm a mountain biker, a road bike, and I'm a motorcyclist, which is actually a little bit rare. Usually people go the analog route or they go the motor route.
You're kind of all over the place on two wheels, which is impressive.
I thought everyone who rode two wheels, it's like if you get what's fun about cycling, you're gonna fucking love a motorcycle. You're gonna really love it.
Yeah, honestly, it's the other way around too. Like you said, where it's like, I've been a street rider forever. I think mountain bikers are insane. I imagine mountain bikers probably think that street riders are insane, but you're just out there doing it all.
They're all great. They are. Like I get it. Nobody here is wrong. They're all
Right.
really
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
And in all cases, I want to have my music with me, and I want to have my maps with me, and I want to have the ability to access my camera quickly.
Yeah.
And furthermore, like, also, I'd say road cycling more than any other one is road cycling and backcountry camping.
Mm.
The hiking portion specifically are like the two activities that are the best idea generators that I've ever come across, because you're
Oh,
just
okay.
doing something repetitively. The uphills, specifically on road cycling, it's just like, holy shit, is there time to think? And when you're making phone products, it's like, well, how would I capture video better? How do I handle the vibration? Like, it's really excellent ideas for that. I think that's why actually the outdoor space has so many innovative, cool products, because anyone who's into backpacking is going to have that fodder for ideation and the inspiration of nature all around. I mean,
Hmm.
I know I'm not alone in finding these activities highly inspiring.
Yeah, I got a
So
good friend who got me into like backcountry camping a few times, and he used to call it turning the volume down, which I think is a pretty damn good way of explaining like how much space you have and time to think and really just let your brain go, and even just as much, if not more so, than on a motorcycle, because um, you're not necessarily worried about traffic even in the middle of the open road or anything like that. I mean, I've had some great ideas on a motorcycle too, but backpack and backcountry camping is much the same.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the type of motorcycle that I usually find myself doing is mostly around the city and around the bay, and it's like I am
Mm-hmm.
engaged. I am playing a
Yeah.
sport, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's just the time. I love that the idea of just turning the volume down and hearing silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never backcountry camped in my whole life before I came to California.
Oh,
I
no
didn't
way.
know what it was. I thought camping was when you go with your car and you got your parents there and you set up your tent. You get the BB guns out and you start shooting cans and shit. I thought that's what I thought camping was,
That,
and
that's
it
what I thought it
is,
was too. Yeah.
and it's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a whole new level to go out there and see, really, really connect with nature.
Yeah, yeah. So I can see the pieces though coming together where you have, okay, I want to have my phone while I'm bicycling. I want to have my phone while I'm mountain biking. I want to have my phone while I'm on a motorcycle. And not only that, but the other piece of like, okay, these cameras are getting to be pro grade,
Hmm.
at this
Hmm.
point,
Hmm.
especially in the right hands. Um, did the idea for the mount come first, or was it the case first, or was it the whole kind of ecosystem altogether? Because I will explain a little bit that you do offer the case, and then you offer mounting systems for a bicycle, for a motorcycle, for pretty much anywhere you'd want to mount a phone. Actually, now that I think about
Right,
it.
right. So the idea that came first was, I'll say, like, the experience with quad lock, very formative.
Hmm.
But then there were two things that were going to, one, the thinness was necessary. Two, or something that I very much wanted. Um, Two was magnetic capabilities, because there were other
Mm-hmm.
early products on the market that were like for car mounts and stuff like that. Because this is, your tool across your whole life. Sometimes you drive a car, sometimes you have,
Sure.
there's all sorts of reasons. And so it was always this combination magnetic mechanical thing. And
Hmm.
so this is, 2016, where we start kind of investing some amount of energy into this. Gave it a little break, focused on the tripod for a while and built that
Hmm.
business up, but then returned in earnest to this in 20 early 2019. And we were, well, no, 2018. And then we were, um, we were about to launch this system that looks a hell of a lot like this. Well, it is this. And then we catch rumors that Apple is considering putting magnets in the back of their phones and their
Yeah.
cases,
Hmm.
and that it is basically, a way of facilitating wireless charging, which was a very kind of nebulous. Some people are doing it, doesn't work very well. Some people are not. And thank God we didn't release before that. And we were
Yeah.
allowed to be reactive to it. And what it did is it kind of, it locked an architecture which is this magnetic array. And it also created an ecosystem where, we were designing, half of our work for years was designing magnet systems that would
Oh,
be
sure.
the least possible interference with wireless charging, which is actually a supreme technical challenge.
Okay.
And Apple took a different approach than we did. I won't, it would be too boring to get into it, but long story short is that, like, it's incredibly fortuitous that Apple got together with the Wireless Power Consortium and developed this thing called Qi 2. And it
Hmm.
allowed us to kind of, like, just by the skin of our teeth, we were able to kind of contort our system and its current architectural parameters into the system. And so that's what we have, is the MagSafe magnet of rings and
Right.
this mechanical cutout. And what people don't realize is, or may not realize, is this is a zirconia insert. And it's
Okay.
zirconia, which is a really expensive part. We were paying, for a long time, we were paying $3.40 per part for this. To give people
Wow.
context, like, any other phone case on the market costs about $1.20 to make, even the ones that are being sold for 60. And
Sure. Yeah.
for us, one part is
Cost
$3.40.
$3. That's
And
insane.
I mean, this is a tale as old as time with Peak Design. Our bombs are ridiculous. This is what it takes to put real engineering and real materials into our products, is that they're
Hmm.
more expensive. But it's zirconia because we need it to be incredibly stiff, because if it flexes at all, it's going to jump out of the mount.
Hmm.
And the other thing is that, so you could do that with many metals, would do that for you, but you can't have metals and have inductive charging. And so
Right.
ceramics allow us to be incredibly stiff and strong and thin, but also allow charge to pass through them. And nobody else has that. And we've
Yeah.
also got some really good patents around it. And so um, now that, like, the era of wireless charging is really upon us, Peak Design just has, like, a head and shoulders better system than anybody else out there. I mean, in one guy's humble opinion.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, specifically with the motorcycles, because, like I said, you came out with the V1 motorcycle mount. Again, a couple different ones. You could do this. You can plug it into one of your stems on the triple tree. You can plug it into or attach it to a handlebar. But now you've got this V2, which can charge your phone like while you're riding. Which, like, as somebody who went to Sturgis last year and had a cord basically running up my jacket through my leg into the handlebar from my battery tender port.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. And then, of course, you guys come out with one. So, how does this even work? How do you charge it at the same time? Like, tell me everything about this.
So the key is, I mean, there's a couple ways that you hook into your battery's power systems. I ride adventure bikes. I ride a
Okay,
1200 GS,
cool.
and so it's got an adapter there, and
Okay,
it's kind of the European cigarette lighter adapter. It's a smaller one, and I
sure.
can, readily available are 20-watt output USB-C things. So I'm just plugging in USB-C to USB-C. Actually, it's not USB-C on the motorcycle side. Our motorcycle products have a waterproof connector, so
Oh,
that it
cool.
can
Yeah.
submergible and everything. I mean, it's really cool. But on the tail end of that is USB-C. You can have USB-A, although that can't deliver the kind of power you need for Qi 2. Qi 2
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit complicated, but it's basically a handshake between phone and charger that says, "Are you Qi 2 compliant?" "Yes, I am." "Cool. We'll start feeding you 15 watts of power. Once things start getting a little bit hot, we'll tamp it down a little bit," right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the inductive charging has losses. Those losses occur as heat. Phones
Mm-hmm.
generally don't like heat, but the way that heat is minimized is by having two magnetic interfaces that perfectly center the coils. And so then you're making essentially the most efficient possible transaction of electrons between a receiver or transmitter coil and a receiver coil. So that's why the magnetic interaction is really important. And then
Sure.
the Qi 2 is just a protocol to say, was this all designed with the exact specifications that allow for an efficient transfer? If so, we're going to go ahead and send you the max juice.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that chargers that aren't Qi 2 are, like, they may start at 7.5 watts, but they're going to trickle down to, like, 4, maybe 5 watts for the duration
Okay.
of your
Sure.
charging experience. And then what happens as a result is you're using your maps and you're using your music, and before you know it, like, you're just dropping a percent, not as rapidly as if you didn't have any power input at all, but in no way is it going to build it back up. Now, when I ride home, just 7 minutes, like, I'll see 7% gain in my
Wow.
battery. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
And
like,
you're running all that stuff on top of it. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So it really is a game changer for anyone who does any kind of long distance riding. It's very obnoxious to get to your destination, and the first thing you got to, well, also it's the anxiety that kind of comes with, like,
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to run out of, if you're doing something cool, you probably need a map,
Yep.
or would really
Exactly.
benefit from a map. And
Yeah.
so it's like a warm hug from a friend, the fact that you know that your battery is going to be fully charged. And you also, like, I actually, what I love is I don't even have to set up a phone charger at night. If I'm doing a multi-day ride, I actually charge all day, and then I don't even plug my phone in at night. And you
Oh,
know
wow.
how it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to the hotel and go behind the nightstand and get the charger and plug your thing in. And
Yep.
then you got the
Yep.
short cord. And then you're like, well, I can't, read how the world is blowing up without being plugged in. Anyways, it's just kind of nice to be like, well, I know I'm going to charge tomorrow and I'm going to be full when I arrive wherever I go. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because your phone, you're not using your phone when you're asleep, maybe to play music or something like that. But um, you know, it's you can charge it like you said when you get back on the road tomorrow. And that was
Yeah,
I remember back in the day that was a really surprising thing for me was that how much juice actually like your GPS does take, especially if you don't plug it in. Like if you're using that thing all the time, it just like kind of like wireless charging. We can't believe we take for granted that our phones are talking to satellites to tell us where to go,
totally.
and you don't even need wires to charge anymore whether you're on a motorcycle or a car or wherever.
Well, the other thing is screen brightness. And when you're outside,
Oh, sure.
your
Oh,
screen
yeah.
brightness is at 100, and that's actually a huge power suck. And the
Mhm.
other thing that our V2 products have is just like they have 20%, 20 degrees of variation, actually in
Mhm.
all directions, so 40 degrees total. But that allows you to, as the sun becomes a real pain, like, you can tilt these things out of the
Oh,
way
sure.
because the
Yeah.
glare can be really bad otherwise. It's just, I'm so proud of the V2 products. They are absolutely the head and shoulders the best products on the market right now. And that's what we do. It's in our mission, just to make the best of a thing. And really what that does is serve as a governor. Like, Peak Design will not be getting into e-bikes anytime soon because
Mhm.
we can't make the best e-bike. We can
Oh,
make the
sure.
best charger that goes on an e-bike, but at least at this point in time, we don't feel like we can make the best e-bike. um, and whatever it may be, it's kind of a nice governor to make sure that if we're going to do something, we're not just going to me to it and get in line and try
Sure.
to throw our brand at it. We want it to be, from an innovation standpoint, the very best of its kind.
I love it. And as a motorcyclist, you got to beta test the hell out of it, I'm sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, I keep on, basically my whole life at this point is pretty much tax deductible because we make we make something for everything I'm doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got the mounts on every bicycle you have on the motorcycle in the car. It's like you just glide through life with a fully charged phone. Must be
That's right,
nice.
man. It's not bad. It's not bad.
So I gotta ask. I know that you probably can't talk about anything too much, but any other motorcycle related products maybe we can look forward to in the near to distant to near future?
I'm gonna think about what I can talk about here.
I was going to say, because I can't imagine you guys just like, yeah, we made a charger for a motorcycle. It works great. And we're done, you know?
No, clearly not. We cracked open a door there. Like, are we
Mm.
known? And you go to a motorcycle trade show and go ask 100 dudes and ladies rolling around, like, hey, you ever heard of Peak Design? And you're gonna get one in 100 that has
Yeah.
heard of Peak. And we got totally schooled by that. I
Oh,
didn't
geez,
think it would
really?
be that hard of a transition to go from, like,
Hmm.
photo adventure outdoors stuff over into moto. I just thought that the Venn diagram of people who looked like me was was a lot bigger.
Hmm.
But we have so much work to do in this space to make a name for ourselves. And it's actually really fun. It's kind of like starting a business, afresh and
Oh,
anew
sure.
here.
All over again. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's think about the places that are kind of obvious for us to go. Obviously, we do luggage and we do travel gear. Right now, we actually sell more packing cubes than any other product that we make, and they're
Okay.
actually incredibly useful for motorcycle travel because a lot of people have, especially if you have hard bags,
Mm-hmm.
and they're shaped aerodynamically and with the styling of the bike, and like it's kind of hard to get stuff in there. They're so nice. They take up so little volume, and they really end up making a more useful packing tool out of those. We've been approached by many a Peak Design motorcycle fan to make a motorcycle specific backpack. I don't
Okay.
To me, I don't I mean there are some packs out there that are like, crazy aerodynamic or something like that, but like the existing packs we have actually work great for motorcycle travel. So I'm not
Sure.
sure I want to, it is true that like making a product and just saying this is for motorcyclists is something that allows people to buy it, or like, just find it and appreciate that
Yeah.
like this is a tool that works for them. But I think about the experience of photography and video that goes along with motorcycling a lot.
It's a big thing
Um,
nowadays.
yep, definitely. I think about just all things travel related. Like my wife and we go on motorcycle adventure trips together, and like
Hmm.
the packing for motorcycle adventure trips is really kind of complicated because you got the helmets, because you want to have your cardo system and all of that stuff. So um, does not I don't think any of your fans should expect like another big Peak Design motorcycle release in the next, call it, 2 years. But I
Okay.
think, yeah, I would say in about 3 years' time, we will have really gotten the legs underneath us in this kind of motorcycle mounting space. I mean, there's just
Sure.
so much blue ocean for us to get our name out there, where we'll be ready to reapproach kind of the motorcycle customer because we'll have a base built up.
Sure. Yeah. And you'll kind of have some more knowledge maybe about, like you said, how to make the best products. But I think if I read between the lines there, that's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting
Definitely, man,
stuff.
definitely. And there's every time I'm on, you and I talked a little bit before about kind of how much I like music and the audio
Hmm.
experience of motorcycling. And I like, there is on the roadmap, there is a Peak Design helmet that exists.
Oh, cool. All right.
Um, I'm not saying people should expect it anytime soon, but
Sure.
solving the issues around the auditory experience of motorcycling is really important to me, because
Hmm.
it's the one thing I mean, just like in a car, actually, sometimes I want the windows down. I want to feel that air. I want it to be
Yeah.
loud. I want it to feel like a rock and roll concert. But man, is it nice in a modern car when you can roll those things up and listen to fucking Beethoven, and it's just like you bring peace.
Just depends
And
on your mood.
so
Yeah.
it depends on, that's right. That's right. And so I want to port that experience over to motorcycles. I've definitely had some ideas about ways that I would do it.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't dare approach that until we've got ourselves enough kind of credibility in the motorcycle space to be taken seriously, because rightfully so, people take helmet safety really, really seriously.
Hmm.
And we wouldn't want to approach that, recklessly.
I think that's smart. And I think that,
Mm.
being able to establish yourselves as real, authentic motorcyclists is definitely the way to do it. And obviously, you're a real, authentic motorcyclist. If you've been riding since college and you're still taking trips, with your wife, which leads me to one of my last questions. What is maybe one of your favorite trips on a motorcycle that lives in your mind rent free?
Uh, it's a tough call between. All right, so I've done 4 international trips with my wife on a motorcycle so far. We only got married in 2 years ago, so that's pretty good
Okay,
for
cool.
for for the amount of time that we've been
Yeah,
married.
not bad.
our honeymoon was Patagonia, and we rode
Okay.
from Chile over to Argentina, and then back over. Um,
Wow.
the way there, the wind was so fierce up over like a high, 15,000 foot pass in the Andes. It was crazy. Um, and it was like, and well, there were also some other misadventures on that. That one is not the favorite. I think the Peru trip that we did, it was 6 days going from Cusco, and it was kind of a one way. We had a bike delivered for like $200. They brought it to Cusco, and we
Oh,
rode it
wow.
down the backside of the Andes into the jungle, up the other side into Colca Canyon, which is their Grand Canyon kind of, and then into Arequipa. And that was really spectacular. But I also want to note, and we just did an amazing Pyrenees trip this year. The Pyrenees,
Hmm.
Europe, holy shit, does Europe know motorcycling? Like they
Oh,
just
they got
like
us
it
beat,
is.
man.
Oh, they have us just floored. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
laughable. Those guys. And so the motorcycling is incredible over there. I will say Wales took the cake.
Really?
Totally unexpected. We had a trade show, Adventure Bike Rider,
Oh, yeah.
in ABR in Stratford upon Avon, Billy Shakespeare's hometown.
Okay.
And my wife and I took the opportunity. We flew into London, rented a Triumph. I think it was a Tiger, um, and went into Wales. Wales is gorgeous,
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine
beautiful,
it's like one of
tiny
those
roads.
hidden
What? Oh,
gems.
it was spectacular. It was spectacular.
Man, you're really getting after it, Peter. I really am kind of jealous, I got to say.
Hey, man, probably one life to live. Maybe not, but probably. So,
Well, I might as well bank
well,
on it. Yeah.
well,
Well, last question for you then. Off of that,
mhm,
off of all these adventures you've been riding for, a couple of decades, I think it's safe to say. What
mhm.
what keeps you throwing a leg over that bike and wanting to even like take trips and rent a motorcycle internationally? What keeps doing it for you?
I think that I have a daughter who's almost 14. And
Hmm.
she was the reason I lived in Chicago for 8 years. Her mom and I never got married. When she was just before she was 2, we decided it wasn't the relationship, and so we split. And
Sure.
wonderfully, she moved back to San Francisco, so I could stop splitting. I was splitting time between Chicago and SF for a while,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now she lives in a beautiful town called San Anselmo across the bay. And
Hmm.
she's with us every other weekend, but every single Wednesday, I get on my motorcycle and I go ride to my daughter. And if I don't take the motorcycle, it's an hour and 15 sitting in traffic, and it's like this chore, right?
Hmm.
Where like it's supposed to be this wonderful time to connect with Josephine, and instead it's just like, oh my God, this traffic. And instead, I throw a leg over that motorcycle. I put on my morning jacket and the headphones,
There you
and
go.
I just like take this freedom injection right in the arm and go rip across the Golden Gate Bridge and go have an awesome dinner with my daughter. And so that's what keeps me throwing a leg over it. And there's just no experience like it, man.
I think that's why else would you want to ride, right? I think that's perfect. I think that's a perfect way to end. So, Peter, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us, and really excited to see what else you guys are going to come up with in the motorcycle world. The charging system, the V2 mount is great, and hopefully we get to maybe talk about it some more in the future. That would be awesome.
Anytime, Mark. This is my pleasure, man. I really enjoyed it.
All right, thanks, Peter. We'll talk soon.
Adios.